Welcome to Intuitive Seek. My name is Mary Train, and as an intuitive guide, energy healer, and meditation teacher, I aim to bring you a grounded approach to all things energy and intuition. Everything I share is with the hope to help you remember how your unique power of intuition is your own greatest teacher. Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to your week of July 7th, the energy update for the week ahead for this first full week of July, even though it is already going by quite quickly. And I feel like that is just part of what this year is bringing, a speediness. And something that is coming up pretty quickly is my next workshop, which is on Saturday, July 19th from 12 to 2 Pacific time, 3 to 5 Eastern. And this, of course, will be on Zoom, so you can join from anywhere in the world. This is The Art of Intuitive Spoon Bending workshop, where you really get to remember your magic. You get to experience seeing something right before your eyes that felt impossible. And then an hour and a half, 2 hours later, you see it become possible. And yes, you do use your hands, but it's not just about the spoon. But the spoon is how we move into this remarkable shift, a real shift for your mindset, where it helps you understand your energy, helps you understand the relationship between your energy now and perhaps the energy of trusting your dreams to become a reality, the energy of your future, connecting you to and understanding what it feels like to have your personal hurdles or blocks, limiting beliefs that keep you from really trusting that what you wish to happen will happen, trusting that taking action will actually work for you, trusting yourself, the timing, your intuition, your guidance, your inspiration, all of those things. That's what this workshop really helps you with. And it's also a lot of fun and just shifts your perspective in such a way that it is hard to describe. But if you're curious at all, get a ticket. You do not have to come live, although I do encourage it because it is such a beautiful experience to be together doing it and answering questions in real time and guidance in real time. But you do not have to. You can watch the replay. But the one thing I always do for the replay is I edit out any shares or personal information from the attendees. So if you do join us live, don't worry about what you share and what you say and your image to be shared on the replay. Only my video is recorded, and I edit out any of the voice of any of the attendees that are sharing. And that's why you want to join live as well, because we get to share. And yes, it's a really great way to connect, not only with yourself, but with this group, with this intention. And each group is always different. Sometimes they're quite small, sometimes they're larger, depending on who can join live. But I always trust whoever joins, that is the group that we're meant to be together for that time. So yes, if you do feel that pull, that curiosity to come join, I would love to see you there. So just go to the show notes and you'll see a link there that will bring you to where you can get your ticket and all the information that I shared and more. And of course, you can always reach out to me if you have any questions, and those links are in the show notes as well. But right now, we're focusing on this week. And what I do, if you have not listened before, welcome, and welcome back to everyone who has. For these energy updates, I go into a nice deep meditation with the intention to receive insight, guidance, anything that I can bring to you, translate for you that we might need to know, that you might need to know or remember or understand, something that will maybe bring up your own intuitive knowing, to recognize what you need to focus on or let go of or lean into for the week ahead. So, with everything I share, trust what resonates. Everything I share is an intuitive practice. It is helpful for you because it helps to listen, and trust what resonates is a way that you can tune, kind of refine your intuition into the discernment, into knowing what is intuitive, what you are feeling, understanding, what is resonating with your intuition, and then trusting what doesn't, trusting what is not for you. So, everything that I'm offering for this week ahead, take what resonates, take what you need, and leave everything else. Okay, so the first thing that came through in the meditation for the week of July 7th was quite a strong visual. We're standing at the base of a path, but the path has three paths. So a three-pronged fork in the road. And we're standing at the base, and it feels like each path, each prong is a choice. So this week we may have the invitation, the opportunity to make a decision, that brings us further along our path, further along in our lives. And we're standing at the front of it. We have three doors, three paths. And it really felt like, quite strongly, that each path could represent our past, present, and future. That we have the choice of which one we're going to step on, which one we're going to continue on. And it feels like the first one is the past, and it's the choice of what we have known. So this week we may have a question that we need to answer, a choice that we need to make. And one of the choices could be moving in the direction of what we have already known, based on what we have already done, the extra familiar, if you will. And then the second path, this is a choice that we could make, and it feels like it represents what we know now, the choice of what we know in the present, what we need today, what we know today. And then the third choice is that future choice, the choice that we make that is based on what is unknown, what we don't fully know, the path that is not forged yet. And we have the choice. And we're standing there. This visual is we're standing at the base, deciding which one are we going to take. But there is this feeling, and also I can see in that meditation that in the periphery of our vision, as we're looking at these three choices, this three-pronged fork in the road, in our periphery, it feels like and looks like there are a lot of things speeding past us, where it feels almost blurry as we're trying to focus and concentrate on this next choice. And this really feels like a message and guidance for some of us to not get caught in the quickness around us, to not get pulled into the current around us, to not make a choice based on what is happening around us, to not feel pushed or rushed, that we really need to choose our next step from a focused, deeper, clear place within us, from our center, from that authentic truth within, to not react with a choice, but to respond to our deep, clear desires, not what's happening around us, but what we are moving towards. So this week, pay attention to when you have to make a choice that really does affect or impact your future, small or large. And pay attention to whether you're doing it, choosing, whatever you're choosing, whatever you're doing, whether it is what you have known, what you know now, or whether it is what is unknown. And I'm not feeling like any of those are the right or wrong decision. But it's up to you to know what is right for you. And in the meditation, as we are standing at that three-pronged path, that crossroads, those three doors, standing at this threshold, it does feel like with everything moving so quick around us, and also the insight that I'm receiving through the meditation, it feels like big, big changes may happen this week. A big change. But the feeling is that we have already changed. But now our world will begin to reflect those changes. So the material world around us will begin to reflect the changes we made. And what that brought me to in the meditation was seeing, are we choosing based on how we've changed? Are we choosing based on more changes that we desire? Are we choosing based on change that we wish had happened? There is this question of what more needs to change. And in the meditation, it felt like, well, the answer is it already has. Everything has already changed. But now we are seeing this change show up in deeper, more visceral and physical ways. So it's these new beginnings this week that we are beginning to really see a true start. And that's what change brings. Of course, there is a closure, an ending, a letting go, but then that can bring the new, which we know. So with all of the change that has already happened, with all of the change that we are going to begin seeing, here comes this choice that we may need to make this week. And that is up to you. There is no decision that I saw. It was about recognizing the choice, recognizing that you get to decide, and really reflecting and making sure that you are deciding based on what you really desire, what you know to be true, to be best for you, for your highest good. And it feels very important to stay rooted and grounded. That with everything happening around us, it can feel quite emotional. There can be quite a few waves of different feelings moving through us. So staying grounded, staying rooted, this will help us feel more safe in all of this newness that we are all going to be experiencing in different ways, perhaps. But then in the meditation, the focus came into our physical, the energy within our bodies, and our heart and our solar plexus were spotlighted. And this is not new. It still feels connected to many of the energy updates and impressions that I've been sharing. So yes, with all of this change, with all of these decisions that we need to make from a centered, connected, grounded, rooted place, our heart still feels tender because we're moving through the emotions of endings and beginnings, of these new cycles starting. of these cycles ending. So pay attention to the tenderness that your heart is feeling. And how can you care for it? How can you care for your heart this week again or more? What does your heart need? And then in the same way, connecting to your inner sun, your solar plexus. Maybe it is a bit of anxiety or unease. Maybe your digestion is not really being exactly, maybe your digestion is not acting the way you would love it to. Pay attention to that. Whatever activity is happening within the solar plexus, about 3 inches above the navel, below the heart space, any activity there, bring your attention, bring your awareness. Remember that even bringing attention to an aspect of your energy already creates change. So, what is your solar plexus asking for? What changes are needed? Do you need more rest? Are there some of you out there when I said that saying, no, I cannot rest. There is no time. Well, most likely you need it more now than before, especially if you are resisting it that deeply. But maybe your solar plexus is feeling unease or a bit of indigestion because our stomach is there, because we are not paying attention to every aspect of our life. We are not fully understanding the change that is happening and the changes that have already happened. Recognizing them, reminding yourself that you have survived every change so far, and that this change will only bring more life to you. Maybe that's all your solar plexus, maybe that's all your stomach needed you to say. But these are examples. Trust when you connect to your solar plexus, when you connect to your heart. Trust how you are feeling. Trust what you receive. And what that means is trust what you are paying attention to. How can you pay more attention to anything that is happening within you? But this week, it feels like the heart and the solar plexus may be the areas we want to pay attention to, but really anywhere within your body that is helping to translate, share, speak what your energy is trying to tell you. So another call for this week is paying attention to your body, caring for your body, and making sure that you are feeling anchored and grounded, and that your mind isn't working separately from your body, that your heart isn't working separately from your body. Are you here? Are you fully here? Bring yourself back to now, to the present, every part of you. And you can do that with your intention, just saying it out loud. I am here. That's what you need to make this choice this week, whatever it is. But you need to come back, to be here with every part of you so that you can make these decisions. This decision, whatever it is, from a place of grounded truth. So what path will you take this week? What is the question? What are you being asked? What actions are you being asked to take? What decision are you being asked to make? And then the next thing that came in to the meditation were beautiful visuals of mint leaves and pomegranate seeds, two beautiful symbols of the natural world. And of course, I wanted to connect with the symbolism of these two. So a little bit about mint and the meaning and symbolism around mint. so that you can connect to what resonates, and maybe it will offer more insight and guidance for this week as well. It could be very practical. Perhaps mint is an herb that will help you this week. Therapeutically, it does help to reduce nausea and headaches, helps to relieve indigestion, bad breath. It's been known to be anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, antifungal, and antispasmodic, which is helping with muscle spasms. So any unease within the body, mint does help. It's quite supportive. So mint right away, maybe this is what will really help us. In the Northern Hemisphere, it is summer. It has been quite hot in many places, and mint is extremely cooling. So maybe it is just very practical. But the more metaphysical connection to the plant, to mint, right away the green reminds me of the color that represents our heart and our heart chakras. Mint is also used in enhancing the energies of purification, protection, abundance, communication, fertility, and healing. Some drink mint tea not only for digestion and to help soothe, but for luck and abundance, to also call in success. Some have even had the practice of putting a satchel of mint under their pillow to guard against negative energies, but also to call in more clear dreams for what they may need to know. So perhaps this week is the week to connect to our luck and abundance and success, to connect to what we are doing for our own protection, for our own purification and healing. How can mint help you this week? How can it support what you're already doing? How can it inspire? And then with pomegranate, I love pomegranate because it connects to quite a few things that the mint is already connecting to: fertility, abundance, but also life and rebirth, which we have already connected to. There is so many cultural significance that's related to pomegranate about the promise of new beginnings, death, and rebirth. Pomegranate signals a time of initiation, remembering the wisdom and responsibility of our soul's true nature. And both mint and pomegranate have an ancient Greek mythology connection to Persephone. And that connection to Persephone through the mint and through the pomegranate, I felt like perhaps Persephone, maybe the word, the name, there may be something in the meaning that can help us this week as well, help us connect to what we need to know. And the etymology, the root of the name Persephone, is not fully known, but commonly believed to be of Greek origin and could be derived from pherin, which means to bring. But then this is what I love. There are two meanings for the phone, Persephone. So we have the pherin, which is the Perseph, to bring. And then we have the phono. So phonos means death. But then phos means light. And this feels like a connection to reminding us about the big changes that we may be going through and that we have already gone through, and that this is about the cycles of life, and that one is not the end and one is not only the beginning, that it is that cycle, that rebirth, and to know that any choice we make is just part of the cycle of our lives. So it brings me back to the beginning of that meditation for this week, where we're standing at the three-pronged path. In any change that is happening, whether it is a change of an ending or the change of a beginning, the change is the life. That is what we are moving through. That is the cycle. So to trust in your life, living through and honoring the choice that you want to make, and knowing that the change is part of it. And as we know, the adage is the only constant is change. So how can you honor that change? And it feels like this connection to Persephone is reminding us to honor the death, the endings, and also the beginnings. And that brings me to midweek. And this was not in the meditation, but I wanted to talk about that we do have a full moon this week. And I do feel like a lot of what the meditation showed is connected to the energy of this new cycle of this full moon. And the full moon this week is in the sign of Capricorn. And we can be inspired by that astrology, the energy of Capricorn, because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, which is the planet of structure and discipline and responsibility, and also time. That the influence on Capricorn is big. And Capricorn can remind us of connecting to our work ethic, the strength of it, to focus on our goals, especially our long-term goals, and to focus on our legacy and achievement and how we desire recognition. And the full moon is when the moon becomes the most illuminated, right? The brightest in the moon cycle. And to me, this week, it feels like it's helping to illuminate what we need to see the wisdom of our circumstances, but more importantly, what we need to let go. What we need to let go of, to release for our highest good. It may illuminate that for us. And this can help us to connect with what is in the way of the structure and discipline and responsibility that we really need to focus on and connect to in our lives as we make these choices, as we move through these changes. What is in the way of you taking responsibility for your actions, especially maybe your mistakes or missteps? How can you commit to your goals with real action? How can you make a choice? How can you commit to your choice? How can you do what you really want? The energy this week can really help us to see ourselves and our circumstances in the light. And it feels like the energy of, and of course it's the moon that's shining, but it feels like the energy of when the sun comes out and shines a spot on your home or a corner in your home that maybe you haven't paid attention to or close enough attention to. And then the sun shines and all of a sudden you can see the dust or the cobwebs that you didn't see before. Or maybe it's clean, but there's a book there that you completely forgot about, or something that you thought you were missing or had lost, but it was there. So what is being illuminated in your life this week? What is there that maybe you forgot about? What is there that you have forgotten to let go of? What is there that is waiting maybe to be reclaimed that can help you with your long-term goals? That's what I feel like the energy of this full moon can really help us with this week. So how can it inspire you? And back to the meditation for the last thing that came through in the meditation. And the animal this week, for the week of July 7th, is the deer. But specifically, it was a fawn waking up. Now, the symbolism of the deer and the fawn, the energy represents gentleness, grace, intuition, unconditional love, strength, compassion, safety, protection, regeneration, resilience. The deer is connected so deeply to that innocent gentleness, but gentle, luring, gentle invitation to new adventure. And I wanted to share an excerpt from Animal Speak, the book by Ted Andrews that I was reminded of. And because the deer came in the meditation, I thought that this excerpt spoke to what we may need to remember or know for this week ahead. When deer show up in your life, it is time to be gentle with yourself and others. A new innocence and freshness is about to be awakened or born. There is going to be a gentle, enticing lure of new adventures. Ask yourself important questions. Are you trying to force things? Are others? Are you being too critical and uncaring of yourself? When deer show up, there is an opportunity to express gentle love that will open new doors to adventure for you. And I felt like that energy of the deer was such a beautiful reminder that through these choices, through these changes, through all of the energy from this big full moon this week to everything else that we are experiencing, to also be gentle with ourselves. Because the new adventures, this new path, this choice we're making, it's a new adventure, but it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to rock our world. It could be a gentle invitation to a new way of being, to a new door that is opening, not with force, but with our intention, with our action, with our inspiration. And if you need that reminder this week, if you feel a bit too ready to go and push forward and get rid of everything or say yes to everything, if it feels a bit too intense or extreme as you move forward on your goals, maybe too disciplined, too much responsibility, too much structure, that's when you bring the grace and the gentleness and the strength and compassion and the unconditional love and the language of your intuition back into the picture. So remember the deer and that fawn symbolism this week. If you find yourself being a little too strict with who you are and what you're doing. And then one more note on the fawn that came through when I was connecting with all the imagery from the meditation is that the fawn, that is an aspect of our nervous system being in an unsafe mode. There's the fight, the flight, the freeze, and the fawn. And the fawn tends to be the lesser known one from what I understand. And when we're fawning in that unsafe place, that's when we can be extremely nice, way too flexible, way too open, way too accommodating, incredibly people-pleasing at the expense of our own needs. So keep an eye for those as well this week and make sure that if that is kind of a default that you move into, make sure that you become more aware when that does happen so you can shift back into, okay, what do I need to feel more centered and grounded and safe within me right now? Why am I people pleasing? Why am I doing that? Why do I not feel safe? And really listen to yourself because maybe the structure and discipline of this week that the energy is bringing, especially with that full moon, maybe it's more discipline in being yourself, in saying no. But I really love that energy this week of connecting to that deer and fawn symbolism, to be open to new adventures, and it doesn't have to be hard or world changing, because maybe we are already changed as the meditation showed, and that everything in our world is just kind of catching up. And then, as usual, I did ask many questions throughout the episode when I was sharing the energy update. So feel free to use any of the questions that I shared if they piqued your interest. Use them as a journal prompt, use them as a way to answer in a voice note. But I do want to offer one this week, and it felt like a really lovely one if it resonates with you to do. But this week, I felt called to offer one intuitive question that is more of an intuitive exercise that came through connected to that visual of standing at the base of those three paths. So the exercise is, if you feel called to do it, you can do it in a journal, on a loose piece of paper, on an iPad. Really trust how you feel best. I mean, if you're on a beach, maybe you could do it in drawing it in the sand, whatever you want. So with this exercise, you want to draw the visual. So draw from the base of the paper three different prongs, three paths from the base, just like the visual that I said. So you have three roads kind of reaching out. And then take a moment, close your eyes if you need to, take some nice breaths in and out, and then think of a choice that you want to make about your life. Maybe a question that you've had, a decision you've been wanting to make, but you haven't yet. And it could be connected to anything in your life, to your career, to your creative projects, to your home, to anything. Like, really trust what comes. What decision have you been trying to make about yourself, about your life? And then look back at the paper, and on the first path, describe what the decision would be, what choice you would make based on your past, on what you have known. And that goes in and around the first path. Don't worry about it being perfect. You can draw around and over and above, whatever, but as long as it's near the first path. And then go to the second and describe on the second one the choice you would make with what you know about your present, the choice you would make today based on you now and your present now. And then on the third path, the third prong, you would write or describe the choice you would make if you decided to make the choice based on what you do not know, based on the unknown. What is the choice? And this tends to be the riskier choice, more of the leap because of the unknown. But what would it look like? What would it look like? What does that choice look like when you base it on the unknown, on your future? And thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Intuitive Seek. I would love to hear if you resonated with the energy that I'm feeling, that we're moving through for this week of July 7th. And if you have any other questions or anything you want to share, don't hesitate to send me a message through my website, treenlight.com, or through my Instagram at treenlight.healing. And please go to the show notes because there you can click on the link where you can explore all the ways that I can support you through my intuitive healing work, including where you can sign up for my The Art of Intuitive Spoon Bending workshop on July 19th. And hugely appreciated if you subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcasts. And if you feel called to offer some additional support, you can share this episode with a friend, or you could leave a review. That is so helpful, and I know it takes a moment, but I would really appreciate it. So thank you again. Be kind to yourself, and I'll talk to you next week.
Hi, Auntie Mary. I just wanted to say something very, very meaningful. Cat.